Hi, this is Kim Speedy from 10 Sigma, and welcome to episode 24 of Transition Tuesday. Today I'm going to share an interview that I had recently with a special educator who's been in the education field for over 20 years. Right now I'm going to switch over to that interview for you to listen in. Today we're going to be talking to Diana, who is a regional coordinator for charter schools in Arizona. She has 22 years working in special education experience, and we're going to ask her a few questions regarding transition. So Diana, hi, how are you?
Good, Kim. How are you today?
I'm great. My first question is, what are some of the successes that you've had while working in the area of special education transition?
So I'll try and give examples of different student successes. I think one very successful transition meeting that we had was student-directed. And going through the transition components with the students. So when we're talking about goals and services and activities, involving the students in that so that the students themselves can present at the meeting and do the transition portion of the meeting is led by and talked about by the student, I think was really successful, because what came to light was the difference between what the expectations of the parents were for the student and what the student wanted for himself. It gave the student a platform and a place, to a comfortable and safe place to talk to his parents about what his strengths were and what his interests were based on data. I think that was quite successful.
That is great. Can I go back and we were talking about the student directing the meeting? In the process of doing that, did you have the student look at some of the assessment data prior to the meeting and their IEP components and what each of those meant?
Right. And we actually scripted his whole section from the point of introducing everybody in the room and what their role was. So his whole presentation was scripted. We worked on actually writing it all down together, what he would say, what he would not, how he would say it, how he would lead into it, how he would make the connection. And the script was, like, each of the components of the transition piece was included in that script. So while he was speaking, he still had that written down so he could refer to it. And of course, I was sitting right next to him so that if anybody asked a question and he didn't know, I could kind of direct him and guide him on how to answer it. So to answer your question, yes, all the components were included in his script.
That sounds like great success. The second question I want to ask you is, what are some of the challenges you've had while working in transition?
As you mentioned in my introduction, I work for a group of charter schools. As part of our curriculum, we have one curriculum for all our students. And of course, with our specialist students, we provide accommodations, we provide services, and so on. But because we're not a huge high school district, we don't have an option for electives. So I think the challenge that I faced when I was writing transition plans, and I now face supporting my coordinators, is when we get to the course of study section and we have to talk about how the course of study is supporting their post-secondary goals. And we do manage to do it because we are a liberal arts charter. So our belief is that the preparation through liberal arts is going to prepare you for any profession that you take on. So it just becomes a little bit more challenging putting it together and justifying why a student would be taking Latin, how music is related, or how geometry or calculus or any of those subjects are directly related to the post-secondary goals that they've chosen. The other challenge that I face, and I think it's universal and also personal, and it's not only for students with disabilities, for any 16-year-old, knowing what they want to do so early in their life. And I think the tools that we have definitely guide and help them understand what their strengths are and what their interests and preferences are. And I sometimes think that the other students would benefit from it as well. But it is still a challenge asking a 16-year-old even to fill out some of those questionnaires as to what they would like to do and what their interests are. One final one that I would mention is parent involvement, because in terms of activities that the students need to do to support their interest may require things that we ask parents to do with them after school, weekends, and so on. And it's a challenge when we're checking up on them and that isn't occurring, because without that support and involvement, it's difficult to then move on to building on the following transition plan.
Right. And so regarding those challenges, I think you mentioned time as far as the students having time in school to do some of those things. And then, of course, the time to have them explore their options and their interests and their strengths, and following up with parents to see they have helped the student with some of the tasks that they needed to complete during the school year. The last question is, what are some tools and tips or resources you can recommend other teachers or administrators look at or use to help them with transition compliance or to help them with their students?
So again, I would say that for me, the most helpful tool I received when I attended a transition conference was the planning tool. Basically looking at planning right from the beginning of what information I already have, what information I need to collect, and the information that I have, like what is the source of that information and the information I'm going to collect, where and how am I going to collect that information. And this tool that I am talking about, I received at a transition conference that was organized here by the Arizona Department of Education, and it was adapted from transition assessment planning from University of Kansas. Part of using this planning tool was to also look at the sources of information, that the student is not the only source of information in terms of what their interests and strengths are, and what their goals might be, post-secondary goals might be. There are a lot of other sources available in terms of parents, the students' teachers, maybe the students already talked to the college counselor, and there's also the students' essays or projects that they've done.
Absolutely.
So that's what I would say to the tip, is to look at other sources where you can find information.
Yeah, 10 Sigma's point of view as a whole IEP team is valuable in helping the student reach success in their adult life. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your expertise. We appreciate it, and I guess we'll say goodbye for now. We hope to talk to you again.
Thank you so much, Kim, for giving me this opportunity to share. Bye.
Thanks for watching the video. I hope you use the information from the interview and the resources that we're going to send over to help your students. Be sure to check your email for the bonus we just sent over. If this is the first time you've ever seen an episode of Transition Tuesday, click the link below to receive the bonus. Be sure to like and share the video and leave a comment or suggestion for a future episode of Transition Tuesday. Have a great week. See you next Tuesday.